Hey guys, Gary Lucas with Obsidian Painting here. Today I just went to the store to get some supplies, so I wanted to show you guys kind of generally what I buy when I go to pick up some supplies. I also want to show you some stuff I generally use in my workspace so you guys can get an idea of what you need to get to be quite efficient at painting your miniatures. Okay, so clearly the first thing you need are paints, and I have pretty much every Citadel paint, including some that are discontinued right now, but I mean I have all the current ones anyways. I have some Vallejo and some Privateer Press, and I'm slowly buying some more Vallejo because I'm going to be eventually replacing, well, not really replacing, but I'm just going to be buying all the Vallejo model colors. Well, maybe not all, because there's like 200 some, but I'm going to slowly buy more because I really like how those worked. I don't think I'm going to buy Vallejo Game Color. I didn't really like them too much. I may expand and grab some more Privateer Press. They're pretty good. But pretty much I'm still going to be using a lot of Games Workshop. And then maybe some Vallejo Model and some Vallejo Air once I get my airbrush. So, what else? You need some brushes. I've talked about brushes before. You need to get... you can pretty much use anything. Those value packs you can get at Walmart are pretty good, especially if you're just starting out. But if you want to kind of up your game a little bit, I definitely recommend some red sable brushes. I currently don't have any at the moment, so I'll probably need to pick some up because I like to use them kind of as my secondary brushes for base coating and whenever I need to paint a lot of miniatures, like a whole army. I tend to use my red sable brushes for a lot of the or at least for a majority of the work. And then the other thing I like to use are Kolinsky Sable. These are my Raphael brushes. They come to a super fine point. And then I also use some Winsor & Newton. I like them. I mostly use the Winsor & Newton for edge highlighting and also sometimes picking out eyes, but most of the time I just use my Raphael brushes. And they're kind of expensive. They're about, they retail for like $14, but you can get them online at Dick Blick for about $9. I also would recommend the Da Vinci series brushes. They're pretty good. The other thing I recommend is possibly getting yourself some form of micro ink pen. I like to use Faber-Castell, and I honestly don't use these a lot. I like to draw on scrolls, all the lettering for scrolls with my paintbrush, but sometimes when you're doing a whole army that can be tedious, so getting something like this is definitely worth speeding it up. They have all different sizes. I generally use the fine. It's pretty small. Can get really fine lines, especially if you just use the tip of it. Also, get yourself some cruddy toothbrushes. I like to buy them new. A lot of people just use old ones. I like new ones because they have a firmer bristle. You can use these for all sorts of things. I like to use it for splattering stuff. So, as you can see, this one's covered in red. It's because I like to mix kind of like a blood kind of thing. I like to use red ink, the old GW one. It's around here somewhere. And then I also add some PVA glue, and I just dip it in, and then you just kind of splatter it, and it does the splatter effect. The other thing I like to use toothbrushes for is making star patterns, like this. Come on, here, hold on a sec. So making star patterns, and then you just go in with your brush afterwards and make big stars. Okay. The other thing you'll need is, I like to use wire cutters. I cut all sorts of stuff with this. It's good for cutting paper clips, which I'll get to in a minute. It's also good for holding on to miniatures sometimes, because on the little slotted base things that they come in. For example, that little slotted base, you just hold on to that with this. You could also use needle nose pliers. Doesn't really matter because it doesn't really affect it at all. I like to use the wire cutters because they'll dig in just a little bit, and you can shake it around and it's not going anywhere. Okay. I also have a miniature pair, also for use with holding on to stuff. I wrap it in duct tape. I have no idea why. I don't remember. So I also have this old school kind of like file, and I use that for sanding down plastics. But I'm going to show you a tool in just a moment that will essentially replace this. Other than that, I just buy a bunch of brush cleaning products, like brush cleaner. It's the Master's brush cleaner, and this stuff is essentially like a soap pod. I've explained this in my brush maintenance video. This will run you like $5. I buy Terpenoid Natural. That's about $5, and I've had this stuff for a couple years now, and I'm still kind of I still have a whole bottle pretty much. Same with the Winsor Newton brush cleaner and restore. This stuff is genius. Buy it from Dick Blick. You can get all this stuff from Dick Blick. It's really cheap. I also like to dedicate a brush for mixing. I just kind of leave it in my water pot, and then whenever I need to mix paints or pull paints out from the pot, I'll use this brush, put it on the palette, and then go in with my good brush and put paint on it. Tweezers are good. You can pretty much get these at the dollar store. Doesn't really matter. Any kind of tweezers will work. These are good for using for flock and flocking and stuff, and static grass and all sorts of funky stuff like that. Other than that, you're also going to need paper towel. I don't recommend toilet paper. You can also use just a rag, but paper towel is generally the best. I also hear people using cotton rags and stuff like that. I pretty much just use paper towel. The reason why you don't want to use toilet paper is because, and this is for wiping your brush off. So once you get your brush wet, you wipe it on here, or I also use it for making sure there's no paint on my brush. So once I dip my brush in the paint, I like to do my glazing technique. So I'll dip it in the paint and then wipe most of it off on the paper towel, and then go and paint the miniature. Paper towel I find is good. Pretty much any PVA glue will work. Doesn't really matter. I also have a big tub of PVA glue somewhere. Now let's go to something that a lot of people ask me about, and that's what kind of primer I use. I use Krylon primer. This one at the end isn't actually a primer. They don't make a black primer, but the flat matte black. So make sure it's flat matte and then black. This is good for black. It's such an even coating for all of these. It's kind of ridiculous. And this stuff is so smooth. It's insane. These two aren't as smooth, but that's good. You don't want a completely smooth surface to paint on. You actually want a porous surface. Now that's kind of, you want the miniature to be completely smooth, but if you have a slightly porous priming surface, which is what primer is supposed to be, then actually paint will stick to it better. And you never actually notice the porousness of it. You like, when you spray it with these, you'll actually think, oh, that's really smooth, but it's actually more porous, which is good. And gray, white, and then the flat matte black. They also have a brown primer, and you can buy any of their colors, really. Just make sure it's flat matte, and you can use that and prime your miniatures with, and then paint over that, and you're good to go. $4 at Walmart and per can. So opposed to your GW stuff, which is $18 a can, I'd say that's a pretty good deal. You could literally buy 5 of these cans as opposed to 1 GW can, and I think it's way better. It's like, I don't even know how to describe how happy it makes me. So now let's get on to stuff I actually bought today. So I refilled up on distilled water. I prefer distilled water. I buy them in the big jugs. But distilled water, because there's no real chemicals in it. It's just water that's been left for a while, and it's It's literally like stale water, but it's not really stale water. It's kind of confusing. They distill it, but there's no chemicals, no fancy minerals and stuff. It's just pure water, and I like to use that for diluting my paint, and I also use it in my water pots because I don't want to get tap water because there's chemicals in it, and sometimes that can lead to graininess while you're painting. Sometimes I've used tap water sometimes and it works perfectly fine. There are other times where it adds graininess to it. It's kind of weird. So I just prefer to use distilled water, and it kind of tastes interesting, that's for sure. I'm a brush licker. I like to lick my brushes to make them pointy, and definitely tastes interesting. Now let's move on. I mentioned paper clips earlier. Paper clips are good for pinning, which also brings me to you should get a good drill set. There it is. Get a little drill bit set, and you can use these for drilling holes to put magnets in, which are also good if you're going to be building armies that you want to kind of use for multiple purposes. Then I highly recommend getting magnets. You can buy them from amazingmagnets.com, ridiculously cheap. You could literally buy 100 magnets for like $5 and you're good to go. And so get a little drill bit set. You're only really ever going to use the 1/16, the 1/8, and maybe the 3/16 and 1/4. Generally, you won't use any of the others. Sometimes you will. And you're going to use those to drill little holes so you can stick paper clips in or magnets. Paper clips are for pinning. So when you just want a very secure bond between two parts of an object because you think it's going to fall over and break, use pinning. Okay, and you're just going to take a paper clip, cut the paper clip to the length you need, drill both sides, you're good to go. I'll do a video on that some other time. Elastics, dollar store, and by the way, you can buy these at the dollar store. Same with elastics. Go to the dollar store, get yourself some elastics. If you're going to be putting together vehicles, elastics are genius for that. They won't pop up as you're kind of, gluing them together. Which brings me to my next point is glue. I buy Loctite. It's the best glue I have found. And I'll open this pack for you right now. Don't have any fingernails, so this isn't working out the best. There we go. Okay. Get out of there. So this is the best glue I have found. I buy the gel because the other stuff, I don't really like liquid glue. The gel of this allows you to control it better. It doesn't flow everywhere. It's not viscous. It's kind of just really slow. So it's really genius too because you just twist this down until it doesn't twist anymore, and then it's punctured the thing, and then you can pull this off, and then you're good to go. Okay, and it's got a little tiny needle nose thing there. But the local Walmart I had, it's $6 at Walmart. So it's kind of expensive. Less expensive than the GW super glue though. But the local Walmart I had only had one of these left. But they also had this other stuff which is the same, but it's ultra gel. And it's supposed to be enhanced with rubber toughness. Rubber toughened formula. That's an interesting little thing. And then on top of that, because of that, it actually has a slightly slower drying time. So it gives you a little bit more time to work with it, which I don't know. This stuff pretty much dries instantly. As soon as you put it on and then you attach it to the next thing, it's solid. You have a couple of seconds to kind of maneuver it around, but it's pretty much dry. It's in a black thing. It's got rubber in it. That's craziness. So I like to buy this stuff. I'm actually going to be using this. This is apparently a much stronger bond than this stuff, so that'll be interesting. We'll see. I'll do some reviews on that once I use it. else? Okay. For shipping, I like to buy these little bags from the dollar store. They're little tiny bags like this. I just put all extraneous bits in these and then wrap them up, and then you're good to go. So let's get on to the super deal I found today. So, it's a Dremel, and essentially this Dremel is wireless, and I bought this at Walmart, and Walmart has a Dremel for $69.99, and it's a pretty decent Dremel, but this one only cost me $30, and it only comes with 5 little bits, but that doesn't matter, because also in my area, which this could also be happening throughout other places, but my local Canadian Tire was also having a deal on Dremel bits. 300-piece accessory kit, $10. Regularly $50. So for $40, I got a Dremel and 300 accessories. Okay? So normally you'd be spending $70 and getting 18 accessories. So I got 300 and then the 5 that came with it. So that's pretty good in my opinion. Okay? So put those on the side. And then the last thing I stocked up on was corkboard. You can use these for bases. Someone had mentioned do a video on how to do bases for guys and stuff. Corkboard is essentially the answer. You can rip it off and it'll look like rock once you paint it. Then you can put little bits of rocks on it as well. You can buy some basing rocks, and then you put some flock on it, and you can just stack it. Now this looks like a huge chunk, but it's actually 4 little, this is, what the heck is this? I have no idea what that is. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Or if you can't hear me over top of that, but look, there you go. You got 4 of these. It's a huge, massive thing, and all you do is you just break off some bit. And if you look, oh come on, yeah. If you were to paint that up, that would look like rocks. Okay, you just break it up, and you just pile it on top of itself, and then you use some glue, okay, and then you put in little rocks or whatever, and you can break it off, make it look more kind of natural or whatever, and then you use some flock, and then it'll essentially cover this line here, and yeah, there you go, you got yourself some basing material. Corkboard cost me $10 for 4 massive things of it. This will last me quite a long time. And that's what I kind of picked up today. I also picked up some Windex and some masking tape for the airbrush once I get that. And I'm probably going to be buying the Infinity Solo. That's kind of the one I'm looking at. And I'm possibly getting also the harder and steam back compressor as well. So we'll see how that goes. And yes, that's all I picked out today. Any questions about anything, just let me know. Oh, also, I guess this is one of the most important things you'll ever use, is you want to get yourself a good little cutting tool. This is just one handle that came with one of the things I got. This right here is a little cutting kit. Comes with all sorts of doodads and stuff. You can also buy... dollar store things, and I'm on TeamSpeak right now. That's why that just happened. But also, yeah, so if you guys want to, I don't know if I've ever done a shout out for these guys before, go check out 40K Nation. They're essentially this huge group of guys who play Warhammer 40K. They also play some other stuff, but mostly it's Warhammer 40K, and it's 40knation.com. And if you want, you can come check out our TeamSpeak. All the details are on the 40K Nation website. And we have a TeamSpeak, we have a tiny chat. Come hang out with us, and hope to talk to you soon.